Good morning, welcome to the channel. This is going to be a quick how-to video on how to create a sound barrier between your first floor and your basement. We have framed in a bit of an office here down in the basement, two nice windows. It's going to be a decent space, but there's going to be a lot of foot traffic in the first floor above us. So to create more of a quiet office environment, we're not going to go all out on sound barrier, but we're going to do a quick and effective way to help eliminate, I would say, at least 50% of sound transfer that's going to come from footsteps or music upstairs into this space. So when it comes to sound transfer and trying to reduce noise, there's two ways to think about it. First is vibrations, that's through a solid substrate transferring into another substrate. And the second is like music or more of an airborne noise. And there's two ways we can reduce both of those pretty dramatically. First, for the vibrations, for the footsteps, for the stomping, whatever, for things dropping on the floor upstairs, we're going to be using a resilient channeling. It's a super basic design. This is it. You fasten it onto your joist like I've already done here with a few pieces. And by doing that, the contact point with the drywall isn't this full joist now. It's only these screws that are being fastened into the underside of the joist. And then your drywall is going to be fastened onto this metal channeling. They've gone a step further to help with that noise reduction by creating slits in the resilient channeling itself to help break up that solid transfer. So it's a pretty good product. They are about 10 bucks a piece, so a little expensive, but definitely worth doing in my opinion. And again, to install those, you just mark out 16 inches. I think you can go up to 24-inch span, but I'd rather have my ceiling drywall secure. Fasten them to the underside of your joists. Do the whole room. And yeah, it's a pretty quick, easy install. So that's step number one. Something I'm going to do as well before I cover this ceiling is the duct work. Because it's all going to be covered with insulation and drywall, I'm going to tape the seams. Just creates a bit of a better efficiency for the furnace, not to have open seams where the ductwork connects. This stuff is really sticky, so I leave the tape on half of it and then slowly peel it off as I apply it. Basically, you can just apply it like that. Press it in. And that just helps with the air leakage from the furnace when it runs through this duct to warm up your house. And now we can begin with the second stage. The second stage is insulation. We want to go a step further and help create more mass in that area to absorb sound, whether that is the vibration or the music or talking above. So best way to think about it is just you're deadening that sound. Otherwise you're going to have a bit of a drum in that floor space. You could use a lot of different products. I'm using rock wool because it's less itchy and it was a bit cheaper. Even though it's slightly less itchy, I'm still going to wear a long sleeve shirt to install it. Unfortunately, I don't have a respirator, so I'm only going to install a couple pieces to get you the idea. And then see if I can find mine. So this Safe and Sound insulation doesn't have a very high R value. It's meant for a 2x4 wall. It's also quite thin. I don't actually know the R value on it. Maybe I'll throw it up on screen somewhere in the corner. I'm guessing R12 maybe. So it has some insulation properties, but it's more for the sound. We don't have to completely fill that cavity either. It's a 2x10 depth in these cavities, but we're just looking for, a pillow to throw in that. What's that big drum called you kick drum? You just throw it in there and help. Here you can tell that this ductwork is making contact with the resilient channeling. So we are gonna put, well, this whole, because this bat is so thin, it's gonna fit underneath that. If you couldn't get your insulation between it, you could just tear off a bit of insulation from your bat and shove it there, just so it's not making contact. Not a huge deal, but you know, sharing is caring. Okay. So it really is as easy as that. I'm going to throw all these up and I'll show you what it looks like when that's all done. Make sure everything else in the ceiling is good to go, because you don't want to have to take the insulation back down. That just makes it more messy. Alright, I'll throw the rest of this up. Alright, this room is now insulated. Actually, just speaking, it does sound a little less echoey, so I'm wondering if the mic will pick up on that or not, but you can tell it's a little messy. That's because the floor joists weren't on 16-inch center. They were slightly off, so I had to cut about 1.5 inch, 2-inch sliver of insulation to fill that void a little better. Now we have a continuous insulated layer, which will help dampen all those, not all of them, but a lot of the sound traveling through the upstairs floor. Pretty simple, cost-effective way without going too crazy. You can get better than this, but this is what I typically provide clients if they want something that's budget friendly. So if you want something a little more extreme, I'll link a video there or in the description, and you can follow along if you want to see the kind of the next level to this process. You'll quickly notice too that there's a main trunk that's running behind me in this bulkhead. I am going to insulate the underside of that as well. So those in the comments that point that out, yes, that should have something around it as well to absorb, because here ductwork is a pretty big echo chamber that runs throughout your house, so we are going to provide some insulation there as well. I'm going to begin drywalling, and that's going to also help dramatically with the sound that comes up from the upstairs. But that's going to do it for this video for soundproofing your ceiling. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next one. Real quick, I'm just putting up the drywall here. You can see that I've started on the ceiling, and so you can kind of see how the layering system goes. I thought I would show you the edge of this drywall where I'm continuing on. So you can see that the drywall is fastened into the resilient channeling, and the resilient channeling is fastened onto the other underside of the joist. In case you're a visual learner. Okay, that's it.